known for constantly lying over and over again. The media has been known to, even when they are asking people questions to their face, not allowing them to actually respond in honest answers because they're more concerned with staying on their own narrative. That's what they call fact checking. We're fact checking you live. We're not going to allow you to say this kind of stuff on our platform. That's what they call fact checking. It's their narrative that you're not allowed to deviate from, because to deviate from would challenge their own moral compass, their own ideology, their own worldview. And you see it so clearly in this interview that Tucker Carlson just recently put out. He did a speech in Australia. And I think it's important to have a little context before we actually dive into what is happening. Context is important. We don't always address context on the show because sometimes it's fun not to actually have context. But listen to this question. So Tucker Carlson is asked in this interview, who's the most difficult person you've ever ever talked to? This is a live show, folks. No cutting, no clipping. So who's the most difficult person? And he says Donald Trump, but then listen to what he says after it, because I feel like that is the most important part of this whole interview.
I've interviewed an awful lot of politicians where you just feel like there's something so dark coming off them. You know, you get that feeling like I'm not really sure what you're into, and I don't really want to know.
I'm gonna come.
But I'm pretty sure drinking human blood is part of it. You just, ooh, you get that feeling. I mean, honestly, if I'm being honest, I think Trump is one of the hardest to interview. I love Trump personally, actually, and I agree with him on so many things, and I'm certainly rooting for him. Now that the Department of Justice in the United States is trying to take him out of the presidential race on utterly fake charges. So I'm totally for Trump in those ways. But he's difficult to interview because he's, what's the word, discursive? He sort of goes off in other directions, which very often are hilarious. So you go in there with a set of questions like, you know, like your dutiful little dorky journalist. I got to ask him about this, got to ask him about that. And you get to about midway through the first question, he's off. Wow, and another thing. And you just sort of realize, no, my job is not to get my questions answered. They won't be anyway. Just enjoy it. Sit back and think of England. So yeah, that's difficult unless you, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, excuse me. Unless you approach it with the right cast of mind.
Okay, so that is what a real journalist would actually do in an interview. When you go to interview somebody, you come up with questions because you want to seem like you know who the person is. You want to get to know them more. You want to do a yes and to a question. There is something important that you want to get down to the bottom of, and then you're like, oh, that's a great question. I want to go deeper into this subject to learn more because I think it's important to know. But a real journalist, if you're interviewing somebody and they start going off about something else that they find more important than what you brought to the table, you allow them to speak because you're interviewing the person. You're not pushing your agenda. That's what a journalist would do. That's what somebody who is curious, has a curious mind, not, I'm here to educate you because what you're saying is racist. And my colleagues need to know that I'm on the right side of history. Okay? And this is where it takes a turn where it's just wonderful. So he goes on after this to talk about who he hates the most. And then literally after he says all this, it happens. And he dismantles this media personality, this chick, in the most magnificent way possible.
Which is just let it go. This is a kind of performance art. You're in the middle of the installation. You know what I mean? So I'm interviewing him soon again, and I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I'll say one last thing. It is. I mean, I've been doing this for 33 years. It's the only job I've ever had, and my views on it have changed really dramatically, and my views about my coworkers, who I despise, have also changed dramatically. Despise more than really anybody in the world. And that's a heartfelt sentiment too. I'm not just saying that, I really mean it from the bottom of my soul. But my views on it have changed, and I think that one of the one of the mistakes that journalists make, a lot of them
Here we go.
are insecure and mediocre as people, which is
100%.
why they're in the business in the first place.
Yep.
So they can suck up to power and feel strong when they're weak inside.
Celebrity.
But one of the mistakes they make when they go into an interview is they're thinking about the people back in the newsroom and they're trying to impress them. That's the real audience for the interview. And so you see them ask these questions, these inherently fruitless questions, all of which are designed not to elicit information from the person being interviewed, but to illustrate the journalist's moral superiority over the person he's talking to. Well, is it true, Mr. Putin, and you eat children? I do not eat children, but you do. And he sort of has to wonder, like, does the guy expect Putin to be like, well, it's funny you asked. I do eat children, actually. And you caught me. You caught me. And I'm going to tell you now exclusively that I eat children. Of course not. The whole point is to let all the other dummies back in the newsroom at ABC News or NBC or whatever these ridiculous, absurd, totally discredited news outlets, to let them know that the journalist is brave.
Yes.
And I feel at my advanced age, at 55, that that's actually kind of not my role. That my role is to elicit information to the extent that I can for people watching.
Okay, and that's not just like an old person take. That's what a journalist should do. You should be curious. There's a problem in the country. I want to be curious. I want to come to this with an open mind. I don't want to tell you my narrative. I want the narrative to unfold before my eyes and allow the story to unfold. That's what a real person is that wants to get down to the bottom of this stuff. So it's incredible that what he just said. So keep that in the back of your head, that he's talking about how he hates how journalists will just say things in order to appease the people in the broadcasting studio. Because it's not important to actually get down to the truth or ask questions and allow the person you're interviewing to either go off in their own narrative or whatever. It's more important to show the people who you really are. Okay. And now he gets to the portion of the interview, of the speech, where he starts taking questions from media, of course. Rule number 1, don't take questions from idiots from ABC or NBC. They're like the worst of the worst when it comes to this kind of stuff. So listen to this. Watch how he can just sense that this woman, this chick, is being completely disingenuous with her questions. And once somebody starts to become disingenuous like this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how cordial you are back. If once they consider what you are saying doesn't matter and they're just here to have their viral moment, my Spartacus moment, this is my moment and you're going to remember me for it. Listen to this. This is incredible. Oh, God, I love this.
So much for your address today. So you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same.
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well,
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times. And
really, when did I?
4,000, like literally 4,000, like a million bajillion times. Like oh, do you watch my show? No, I would never watch that white supremacist show. But my friends tell me it's like 4,000 times. Don't you love when people that you know don't actually watch his content to come up with these kind of questions? They're just spewing their narrative. Oh, what I always hear. Tucker is a troll. Tucker is disingenuous. He's not a real human being. He's a racist. You fill in the blank. You just hear that over and over and over again. What's up, Valerie? It's just ridiculous. So he already knows she's being completely disingenuous in this question. And you could just see it on the look of his face. Like, really? You bring this here?
I say that.
On your
I said
show,
whites are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that, because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that.
I don't need to cite it. All my friends tell me that's true.
Native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans.
And
Americans black Americans have been, African Americans have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years. And their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. So I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time. And you can't cite it.
Untrue.
So
I believe that it's untrue. I'm not going to allow you to say that, even though you're saying it to my face. I'm not going to take what you're saying at face value because you're not a human being in my eyes. And I want to make sure the world knows that what I'm doing is spreading information, not dis and misinformation like you're doing. Thank you. Some op-ed told them so. They were always right. Yeah, 100%. This is a question that the bosses have put on this girl to be asked.
Matt, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
well,
let's,
I mean, you've been
let's
lying about
pull
my
that back. I'm
Press
happy
Gallery
to explain what I
colleagues
do
all
think.
So.
So you actually can't say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it, and I'm telling you that to your face. So why don't you just accept me at face value?
Because you're
My
a liar.
concern is that the people who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its
She gets
leaders.
kind of crazy.
And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement.
I love that, like, Chucker says Americans are being replaced by immigrants, and all of a sudden it becomes like a thing about race. Because that's what they always do. They're just like, how do we twist it? Make America great again? Oh, that means you want a white America. That means you want slavery back. It's just what a child would do. And they're so good at it. And they know that their viewers and their listeners are so stupid that they can manipulate them with their emotions and use words like racist or slavery. You know, that's why they always only talk about the Holocaust, or they talk about slavery. They just talk about these like basic historical events because they assume people are too stupid to like know more than that. It's just incredible.
Rate. And so the U.S. population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like, that's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course,
I never called you a racist. I just insinuated that you are worried about white replacement theory. I'm too stupid to know that my own logic doesn't make sense, and you're calling me out on it to my face. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. You're supposed to accept me for who I am, and this is how I feel based on nothing to back it up.
But of course, you are suggesting.
100%.
And I must say, one of the reasons people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean.
Exactly.
Your slurs are all by implication, and you're about
Yes.
to tell me the great replacement theory is racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true. It's not a theory, it's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well, I haven't
And
actually
my
finished my
response is, no, I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll...
I haven't actually asked you my question. Okay, then that's another thing. I hate it. I hate how media does that. They're like, I want to fact check you and call you out. You once said that Hitler liked cheeseburgers. Are you a Hitler supporter? You eat cheeseburgers every day. You know, I wouldn't eat cheeseburgers if I found out that Hitler ate cheeseburgers. Would you? God, just ask the question. You don't need to give us a response or like, hey, I don't agree with this statement, but just ask the question.
I'll answer it.
Okay, well, this is the same theory, or as you say, idea, that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting where 11 black Americans
Come on.
two
You know what
white
I mean?
Americans were killed.
Like,
And it's also
okay.
Yeah, this idea that you have that you just told me you don't have actually inspired a shooting, so therefore you did it. It's just, I'm not, based on my premise that is totally faulty, I'm gonna go ahead and keep pushing forward. Being observant isn't racist. Yes, it is. Facts are racist. Put it in your pipe and smoke that.
Hey,
inspired
it's not, first of all...
it's inspired one of the worst Australian guys
How do
of
they
all
get
time
people
to
this
shoot
stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well. Look,
Because stupid people push propaganda. And smart people actually ask questions. That's how. It's just like so obvious. It's right in front of your face. Stupid people take things on face value. They're just like, oh, this has to be true because fill in the blank. People that are smart tend to listen, hear, and then look into it. Just to look into it, to deepen their knowledge. Is what they're saying is true? Is Tucker being truthful? Is there seemingly a whole migration of illegal immigration in America? Yes. And why would they allow that? And why do they lie about it over and over again? That is the questions you should be asking. Why does it seem like they want to flood the country with people who aren't Americans or don't have American values? Why would they do that? That is always the question. And whatever answer you come up with based on your knowledge or your thought process is you, because you're an individual. You're allowed to have your own opinion. You don't need to have my opinion. You don't need to have CNN's opinion. You don't need to have Tucker's opinion. You can come up with your own, and that's allowed in America. And that's allowed in this show as well.
I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but
no, that's one of my favorite things. Maybe you're just pretending. No, call her stupid, because she needs to be shamed. Like, the only way she will change is being publicly shamed for what a buffoon she is.
I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually.
What?
Nothing I said. What does it mean to inspire something?
Oh my God. Tucker comes out against mass shootings. You've changed, bro. You've changed.
My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest. They're factual. That's not hate. That's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans.
Oh, he just said views and reality. That's racist. Where do you get your views from, Fox News? Oh, you got fired from them? Probably not that. Okay, my bad.
Actually, Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares.
Exactly.
And so that's my position. That doesn't...
That is 100% what's happening. Americans aren't having kids. And what do? Well, you can't have all these corporations going under. We need low-income wage earners. We don't have any new high schoolers coming in, so let's just flood the country with illegals. God. When I say illegals, they can also be white. God, it's always like, oh, are you saying you hate this group?
Inspire mass shootings? How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people? How dare you, actually?
Get him.
And in fact...
Go harder.
I mean, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you explain those shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes, and you're like, I've got nothing to do with Hitler. Well, that's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right, so therefore you support gun control?
What? I thought...
Okay, and then it's like, are you having a debate or are you asking me a question? It's just so stupid. It's just so dumb. This is my moment. This is my platform. I'm gonna use it to teach Tucker Carlson, who's probably way more skilled at live speaking than me, a lesson. He's an idiot. He needs to be rebuked.
Thought it couldn't get dumber, but it did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves.
You better.
So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so.
Yes.
First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family. Period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Anyone. Have you been calling? Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine? And the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence.
What?
I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home, and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love. And if you're against that, I guess I would ask why. Why would you be against that?
Well, so you don't think you harbor any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable.
Go
I'm trying
harder.
to be charitable.
Get her.
I was like, maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
Tucker, thank you.
It's just ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous. I can't believe how naive I was to think at some point in my life the people from these news organizations are actually genuine human beings that want to get down to the bottom of information to make my life better. I lament at the idea that at one point in my life, I turned on the news and thought, these people are trying to help me better myself and understand what's happening around the world, rather than just this constant propaganda arm that is being pushed. Even today, we had a Supreme Court ruling that ruled in favor, which we'll get into later, about allowing the government to pressure social media companies to censor speech. I mean, the idea is, and then like the news agencies want this because they're more worried about a program like this or like Tim Pool or Stephen Kraft. Like you fill in the blank. They're more worried about a program like that being on the air and challenging their narrative, challenging their ideas, making them become better, forcing them to not be so freaking lazy than they are about telling you the truth and speaking truth to power. They don't care about that. They just want to be lazy. They just want this algorithm. They want to have their little celebrity look like with their black shirt and they want to be the modern celebrities. They want to be the influencers. They are mad that social media influencers are influencers because they want to be influencers at the end of the day. It's just, and every moment for them is a moment of their platform that they need to have. That's why this debate with Trump and Biden is going to be absolutely stupid. I'm getting to the point now where I'm just like, we don't need to have debates on these kind of news stations anymore. They need to be hosted by big podcasters, because a podcaster, I have more faith, and even like the Young Turks, who I just absolutely loathe, I have more faith in a program like that having open and honest conversation than actually CNN and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. That's how you handle the media. But he gave her the benefit of the doubt, which I would have never done in the first place.